Last week, lawmakers on Capitol Hill grilled the CEOs of the big tech companies about censorship. And today, members of the University of Miami College Republicans were told to take down their sign that reads, "I'm pro-choice, pick your gun."
So tonight, on the eve of the election, questions about whether it's appropriate for a university to censor a sign like that. Is freedom of speech under attack?
Denver 7's Russell Haythorne goes 360.
Big tech's alleged assault on free speech hit a boiling point last week.
Who the hell elected you and put you in charge of what the media are allowed to report?
As U.S. senators grilled the CEOs of Twitter, Facebook, and Google about censoring certain political viewpoints.
Who gets to decide what's substantiated and what's not?
Freedom of speech this election season is also a concern on neighborhood streets here in Colorado.
I feel like my freedom to express my support has been violated.
Kathy Harlow recently put a Trump sign in her yard in Aurora.
That next morning, I got up and it was laying on the ground. It was stomped on. There were footprints on it. I don't agree, obviously, with my neighbors, but the last thing I would do is go take the signs out of their yard.
Tear our friendship apart.
Carla Angeles says the lack of civility is so bad this year, she doesn't bring up politics with friends and family.
There's just so much hate and everything that I don't really like to express it a lot to people that I know because, sometimes they don't take it very well.
The silencing of our neighbors and friends is a sad and sometimes dangerous violation of free speech.
Congress shall pass no law abridging freedom of speech.
Dr. Tony Frank, chancellor of Colorado State University's 3 campuses, recently wrote this: political discourse in this country has become increasingly negative, hyperbolic, and less based in reality.
We seem to be focused almost exclusively on our differences.
It's a topic of conversation we're taking 360, the importance of free speech and all sides, all voices being heard.
To me, as a layperson, it says no one tells us what to say, because the exchange of ideas is the lifeblood of thought.
Dr. Frank says no matter how much we dislike it, all speech must be protected. Case in point, a situation he dealt with at CSU a couple years ago when a group of Nazi sympathizers, by any reasonable definition, came to march in Fort Collins in support of a speaker, while 2 Jewish community members questioned how the university could possibly allow it.
To say no to that, to me, went against everything around free speech.
But Dr. Frank says along with allowing it came a huge responsibility of the university to denounce the marchers
and to make sure that the members of our Jewish community didn't feel like they were standing alone.
That situation spiraled out of control into fistfights, just as other recent events and hate speech have also incited violence.
I do think there is an uncivil war of words.
Daniel Cole is a Republican political consultant who says Lee Keltner's shooting death outside the Denver Art Museum is an example of that. An unlicensed security guard for 9 News is caught on camera shooting Keltner at a Patriot rally. Cole says the media can sometimes stoke the flames.
There are huge swaths of viewership who say, yeah, beat that guy up, make fun of him, make him look ridiculous.
When tensions are high, people can be more dangerous.
I think individuals should have the right to say whatever they want to, but they need to be responsible for what they say.
Dr. Ryan Ross is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Equity, and Inclusion for the Colorado Community College System.
I want to kill a black man. I want to hang someone. I want to lynch someone. Language like that should come with a consequence.
Ross says when we hear negative speech, we all have a responsibility to speak out against it.
The voice of decency and the voice of morality will outweigh the voice of hatred.
The best antidote for false speech might just be more speech.
We should have friends who disagree with us because it's only people who disagree with us that challenge us.
Cole and Ross both agree we should all step out of our social media echo chambers that only serve to reinforce our own opinions.
Once somebody understands your story, they get to learn something about you. And once they learn something about you, you can build a relationship.
Dr. Frank recently wrote, "Stop and think about the beauty of the First Amendment."
Women's suffrage, the civil rights movement, the labor movement, all came from listening to voices that weren't sitting at the table.
Giving voice to the voiceless.
So that everybody's lived experience can be heard.
And that highlights the commonalities Dr. Frank believes we can all draw on.
America, to me, is always going to be an unfinished work as we move toward a more perfect union.
Only through really courageous and honest and authentic dialogue do we educate people through their ignorance.
We simply need to maybe take a step back, take a deep breath, remember that we're all Americans.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
And listen, if we missed your perspective, let us know. 360@thedenverchannel.com. You can also join the conversation on the Denver 7 Facebook and Twitter pages.